My initial idea with Furi was having watched the industry over the 20 years. I always felt that there was this customization element missing, not only for me as somebody who owned a kite surfing school, but also for somebody or as an individual. So there was this drive inside my head of like, we need to build a board where we're happy with the design. Through the multiple platforms of kiteboarding, whether you be a free rider, whether you be a freestyle rider. Well, kitesurfing is something that I kind of took on fairly early in the beginning of the sport. I mean, I've been in the industry since pretty much the beginning. So I've watched the industry evolve over the last 20 years to the point that, I'd also had some input in certain kites and boards and things like that. But, using the materials day in, day out and testing their products day in, day out, the sport started taking more of a personal role on for me than anything else. People seeking your advice all the time about what works and what doesn't work. The sport started to evolve more as something that I was kind of living day by day as opposed to just something that I do. So, when I kind of stepped back from, this idea of not being so much more with my own business in South Africa and starting to focus on building my own brand, there was all these thoughts like, okay, well, how do I go about it and what do I do and how do I initialize it and all the rest as well. So coming back to the hack and talk, it was, something where a friend of mine said, well, you should go to MakerSpace and go and speak to those guys. Maybe they can help you along. Not thinking like, okay, what am I doing here? I mean, when I got here, eventually I was like, oh, I'm out of my depth. And then by the end of it, I had like sort of an innovators grant, and they said, well, we have CNC machines and we have everything that you need in order to be able to build this brand. From first concepts to pretty much the first ride on the board, where we were really happy with the first sort of layout of what we had. But every day it just kept evolving and getting a little bit more complicated and a little bit more okay, so how can we do this and how can we do that and how we can, and then we started looking at sort of the 3D element of cutting a board and the 3D pressing side of it, to the point that we landed up building a 1.5 ton press that allows to pressurize our boards to 30,000 kilos. And eventually our strength element came into the board, also our shape element came into the board. And this was now where it was going to start getting really interesting for us. In a time where we're all sort of financially thinking about how we're going to make a brand work or how we're going to make our concept work and all the rest as well. People already start giving their ideas away to investors and trying to pull people in as from every angle they possibly can. And I wanted to really be able to find the best way to be able to do this for myself. And this is where I found MakerSpace to be probably like the most fundamental part of what we were trying to achieve. Every person that was working here had sort of their input from, where they could sort of, help out, or, if there was an issue with the machine, someone was instantly there to help out. And, within inside of all of that as well, there were certain elements which were, added that we were kind of missing as part of the whole process. And this is where some of the staff that were coming in were kind of like, oh, well, why don't you try this, and why don't we look at this together, and those things were pivotal. I mean, we were really trying to work. You're trying to cut wood to like over thousandths of an inch, to try and make sure that your inserts and your materials are all going to line up perfectly. But even when it got to using, like, say, the shop bot, we still needed, precision cutting. So we landed up, with the laser machining and taking the courses that were available here. It really just opened the whole concept up completely. It was like, okay, wow, I can really precision cut everything that I need here, and like I say, the facilities just made that so much easier, to the point that I started taking more courses. And it's an important place for anybody looking to really build a concept like this. My goal was to make sure that my product was first in a position where I could be so confident about it that I would be happy to sort of put anyone onto it. And this was where I spent a lot of time kind of holding back, but we have now gotten to the point where we really want to focus quite heavily on, you know, our marketing, our media, you know, and pushing it forward, making sure that our websites are correctly up to date, that we can, you know, invest in the video siding of it. You know, a lot of things that we're beginning to understand now is all very visual in the way that people look at products. And I would, you know, for me, from an academic point of view, I battle. I'm very much a hands-on guy. You know, I'm a self-assured person in the respect that I will build you a house, but I will probably not be able to be the guy to write the full page article on how it's going to all get put together and all the rest as well. The design element of something I'm extremely positive with. Where I need the help is more along the guidance of someone being here to sort of say, okay, well, let's look at your product together and let's see how we can you know, present it in a way that, you know, would bring crowds in. And so having people to kind of sit with you and kind of go, okay, well, let's see how we can market your product. Let's see how we can bring in the right people to help you fund that product and get it in there. It's definitely something we're open to talking about, because we are getting to that point now where we're getting, you know, people, you know, wanting big numbers from us. And then it is a matter of being able to purchase in the materials and things like that we need. And a lot of the times the materials that we need, we can't buy 5 or 6 meters of it. We have to buy 2 or 3 kilometers of it, you know, and those sorts of things are not cheap, they're expensive. So, you know, definitely the crowdfunding side of things is something that we have to now start exploring. There's no turning back on this one. We have to find a way to kind of, you know, sort of start looking and working with these platforms as best as we can to get it in. So from my advice is, you know, can we have a little desk outside with someone sitting there going, how can we help? That would be great.